Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. I have a question. If your enemy told you not to jump off a bridge, would you do it anyway? If you answered yes, stay right where you are. You're part of the problem and you deserve your 40 lashes. That's right, we've discussed the state of the culture war plenty of times before. I've even made an entire playlist of videos where I've gone after the culture war right. But if none of that hits the heart of the issue, this one surely will. And what is that heart, you may ask? Pure, unadulterated spite. Today's culture war right has become so obsessed with spiting their enemies that they've lost all sense of mercy, compassion, and forgiveness. You know, those silly things that the funny bearded man talked about on the Mount in Israel. So what kicked this all off? Why am I making this video? Well, I was browsing Twitter and I saw the culture war right embrace, of all people, the Westboro Baptist Church. The same Westboro Baptist Church that attacked soldiers' funerals. The same Westboro Baptist Church that Vic Mignogna opposed. The same Westboro Baptist Church that donated to Bill Clinton's presidential campaign. But they say gay bad, gay is woke, and woke is bad, so they're good, right? If you seriously believe that, you should lose all your voting rights in my humble opinion, because only a complete mental defective would have beliefs so idiotically simple. This is, sadly, the ultimate consequence of a domino chain that kicked off with Gamergate. 10 years ago, when Gamergate started, its message was clear. Games journalism needs to be held to ethical standards, but the games journalists weren't interested in ethics. They attacked their audience instead. That sparked spite and resentment towards them and cracked open a can of worms that's morphed into this whole mess we see today. Gamergate quickly shifted from a call for integrity to a spite-fueled campaign to burn it all down. Feeding that fire were agitators out to make their own names and fortunes. Short Fat Otaku, Armored Skeptic, Louis Laval, Crowd and Tea, and plenty of others. They didn't care about making things better, they just used the campaign for their own ends. And since then, most of those original agitators have been exposed as the grifting opportunists they were. But surely as night follows day, new ones swooped in to take their place. Aristocratic Utensil, John Della Rose, Ethan Van Sciver, John Della Rose, Stone Toss, John Della Rose, Synthetic Man, and of course, John Della Rose. It's a revolving door of spite merchants. This fire has been stoked for over a decade now, and it's got people just as angry, vindictive, and spiteful as ever. Not that the left's been helping, they've fallen into their own spite trap, escalating things on their side so badly they're willing to torch their own movement. Take J.K. Rowling. 10 short years ago, she was the left's starling. Now, she's a pariah, all because she dared to disagree with the far-left agitators on one issue: trans people. That alone makes her the ultimate enemy. The far left justifies everything against her. Doxing, threats, and even anthrax envelopes mailed to her home. Spite's a hell of a drug and they're hooked. Another example is Elon Musk, the man who created the only viable electric car.
Welcome to the electric car of the future, sponsored by the gasoline producers of America.
Hello, I'm an electric car. I can't go very fast or very far, and if you drive me, people will think you're gay.
One of us. One of us.
You'd think environmentalists would see him as their messiah. The Tesla is an amazing innovation in automobiles that's changed the game forever. Now other manufacturers are developing more viable electric car technology. Gas stations are providing outlets for these things to refuel, even hotel chains too. But because he doesn't support their politics, they aren't buying his cars. Despite claiming to be environmentalists who care about the climate and carbon emissions and all that gay crap, they're instead creating carbon emissions by setting fire to Teslas, both owned by private citizens and at the dealerships. The irony? Tesla owners tend to skew more towards the left than the right, and burning lithium batteries is even worse for the environment. It doesn't matter to spiteful leftists that the man practices what they preach, because he doesn't join his voice in with their choir. And the culture war right has become much the same way. They'll ignore what people do, provided they say the right thing. Take Sparky and Quarter Pounder. They've both embraced a child rapist, groomer, and sex trafficker in Andrew Tate for his supposed message aligning with theirs. Though I've yet to hear what this message actually is, other than he's popular and he has a lot of money. Huh, funny. A monarchist who sims for people who are popular and rich, but has no idea what their beliefs are. Fitting, isn't it? For both the left and the right, at least in America, though I doubt other countries are all that different, spite has become the name of the game. Both sides are willing to cut off their nose to spite their face and embrace malicious actors, if only because their enemies hate them. This is why the culture war right is embracing Andrew Tate, Melanie Mack, and the Westboro Baptist Church. They don't care about the child rape, hypocrisy, fundamentalism, puritanism, or any of the other obvious signs that these people are snake oil merchants. They only care about these particular figures because it makes the left wing angry. It's the same thing causing the terminally online culture warriors to embrace National Socialism, despite it being another head of the Marxist Hydra. Because Nazi bad is all the left says anymore, therefore Nazis must be good. Never mind when you look into their policies, Nazis were as authoritarian, censorious, and believe it or not, woke as the mainstream Democrat Party. And they have the exact same opinions on the people of Israel as we've been seeing since October of 2023. Spite has become the only thing keeping political movements motivated in this day and age. To the point where both sides are willing to embrace horrifically bad people because of the old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that is never a healthy way of doing politics. Look how poorly it worked out during and after World War II, for examples. First we sided with the Soviets to beat the Nazis, then we sided with the Chinese to beat the Soviets, and now we have nobody left to side with against the Chinese. There comes a point where you have to put away the real politics and stand on actual principles. The only reason Trump is president right now is because he did that. The average person isn't stupid. People can see when others are being spiteful or hypocritical, and that's what causes normal people to move away from one side or another. The average person was not in favor of the George Floyd riots or Chaz. They were the ones who were inconvenienced the most by left-wingers acting out of hate and spite, and the Democrats covering it up out of political convenience despite their opposition. It was only because of the spiteful ways the Democrats acted since 2020 that Trump won not only the presidential election, but also the popular vote. And now the equals and opposites of the people who gave him the vote are going out of their way to snatch defeat from the talons of victory. It would seem suspiciously conspiratorial if it wasn't for the fact that culture warriors have always been like this, and if human stupidity wasn't the one thing in life as guaranteed as death and taxes. Spite's not just a bad habit, it's the whole damn engine of politics now. The left's burning Teslas and mailing anthrax to Rowling, the right's cuddling of Tate and Westboro, all to stick it to the other side, all in the name of victory at all costs. Principles and ideals of what you actually believe in be damned as long as you stick it to your enemies. But the problem is, if this keeps up, there's going to be no victory for the left or for the right, only utter defeat, and as George Orwell said, the jackboot stomping on the human face forever throughout the course of history. Spite, like anger, can be abused by dishonest and disingenuous people to grift. It's even worse, as these people are the last you'd want to trust with the reins of power. Unlike anger merchants, spite merchants are actually as petty and vindictive as their audiences. They're little goblins filled with hate and only exist to make others as miserable as they are. And unfortunately, they're as infectious as a zombie virus. Too much has happened over the last few years for at least a large portion of the vocal minority of both sides to ever be capable of having a civil conversation with each other anymore. But it's not totally hopeless. These spite merchants, like culture warriors, social justice warriors, and literally everyone else I've talked about on my channel, only have power if you allow them to. There's a whole wide world of people outside of Twitter and YouTube. Ultimately, it comes down to the greater internet fuckwad theory, or GIFT for short. People with the anonymity that being online gives them tend to act like retards, but thankfully, at least for now, that retardation is contained mostly to online echo chambers. There's no long-term plan for spite-based politics, as it cannot be sustained due to its extremist nature. So odds are good that this bullshit eventually dies down if it becomes starved of the attention it so desperately needs to live. It would be foolish to bring harm to yourself or to the things you believe in and cherish most just to spite your enemies, and only fools and horses rush where the angels fear to tread. There's nothing holy about the current spite-based politics. It's a losing game for anyone who gets involved. And that's just the truth of it. Anyway, this has been the Koopa Man. If you like this video, leave me a like and subscribe as it helps me get recognized by the algorithm. If you want to see more, check out my channel. I've got plenty that still holds up. At least according to my friends anyway. Frankly, I think my videos suck. But be sure to discuss your experience with spite-based politics in the comments. And until next time, game on.